last month, we had a technical problem that Brett had to take care of, so he didn't quite get to give this presentation. So come on down, Brett. Let's talk about the Traffic Control Center in Santa Clarita.
So a couple of months ago, we had the good fortune of being given a tour of the Traffic Control Center down at City Hall. It's up on the 3rd floor. You need a special escort to get up there. So we got in there. It was very nice of the staff to take time out of their day and show us around. It was a great tour. I took a couple of pictures while we were there. So here we see Ken Dean cosplaying as the Hamburglar. I got to stop with the bad jokes. Thank you. It's the feedback that helps me. In this room, it's pretty small. I want to say it's probably, maybe 10 by 10. It's real small. It has this giant desk right in the middle of it with 4 good-sized monitors. It's 2 decent-sized TVs on the wall, and then what would be behind me is another TV off to the side, and it gives an overview of all the traffic going on in Santa Clarita. They have lights indicating traffic flow, and a good portion of the lights on this side of town were actually offline for a reason they didn't extrapolate on. But this desk is actually a really impressive desk because the entire thing actually lifts up, so they have one of those sit-stand desks. And it's not a cheap desk there by any means. Here we see another view that kind of shows one of the cameras, and some of the cameras that they have are actually the pen, tilt, zoom variety, so they can they're not quite fixed on a specific location. They can actually spin it around and zoom in on things, which is quite nice. Then here we see a closer look to the TV that's on the wall just as you walk in. And if you look at the very bottom there, it says that there is an update available and that the system is in learning mode. And I looked up the software when I got home after this tour. It turns out the learning mode runs for about the first week of operation, which is a little disconcerting given that this system has been in play for a number of years. If I go back a little bit on the keyboards there, really nice, really polished keyboards. It's several years old and shows no sign of wear. These two things combined paint a portrait that this room isn't exactly staffed. It's all automated. And by automated, they mean set to timers. I think they said 3 schedules of timers for various times of the day to handle all the traffic lights. That's where the traffic light synchronization comes into play. And the system that they have with all the hardware built out properly, it can actually be dynamic. It can sense that there's traffic building up in certain areas and adjust the lights accordingly. So if you're sitting there with 20 cars around you and there's no cross traffic, but you're still at a red light, theoretically the system could operate in such a fashion that it could know that no one's going across the street and to let the buildup go through. But it is not currently utilized in that fashion. I believe the city said that they do adjustments a few times a year. But ideally, you would have someone in this room staffed more or less 24/7. They have the capabilities of looking at where the traffic is in real time. They can adapt it, move things along. I understand that there's a few places in town that don't have the capabilities for them to remotely switch it, but they just passed something earlier this year, I think, to upgrade and improve some of the intersections. But they have the system is far more capable than what it's currently being utilized for. So it would be nice to see some push to get someone in that room staffed, especially at the busier times of the day, to adjust traffic dynamically if they don't have the system do it for them. There's a lot of the traffic is outside the city's control because we all feed onto the freeways, and the freeways tend to have accidents and all of that fun stuff that the city can't really do too much about. And You get onto the 14 on this side of town, and it's 2 lanes that's out of our jurisdiction, so they can't really do much there. But the main point I wanted to hammer home is that it seems like the system's really underutilized, and I would love to see a bit more done just to get it up to what it should be for a city or for an area with well over 300,000 people in it and tens of thousands of cars every morning. So I think that pretty much covers it.
Well, you know, that was really true, because if you've been around the County Country Advisory Committee for long enough, you remember probably 3-4 years ago when Bob Mesa reserved a tour of the Traffic Control Center, and it looked exactly like it does now. And, you know, it's one of those deals where they get grants, they spend millions of dollars putting cameras up around the city, and then they don't staff the room. If I was king down there, that room would be on the first floor under glass, so you could look in and you could see people operating it, because it's useless to spend millions of dollars for a system that doesn't get used.